And we're back with some more X4. And right now we're power drifting. Oop. Nope, stop. Ooh, slow down. We're power drifting in a destroyer. No, that's too much. That's too much. We'll slow down. We'll slow down. It's fine. What we're trying to do here is head over to Vigor Syndicate space in our little destroyer here. We picked one of our favorite classics. It's basically an Odysseus. It's got a medium deck. It's got, well, it can carry fighters and stuff, but realistically what's most important is it has a bunch of flak on it. It has 16 turrets. Of them, 4 are plasma? Heavy plasma, which are really good for killing, well, ships and, well, big ships and stations. The rest is all flak, which is really good for killing fighters, which is great, because the Vigor Syndicate have a lot of fighters. This is going to get messy one way or the other, and I figure we bring as much firepower to bear as we possibly can. The plan here, very, very simple. That's enough of that.
Entering system. Windfall.
Reverse, please. Yeah, there we go. 100% reverse. And let's deploy laser towers. We brought about 150 of them. We'll check here. There's not a lot of fighters, but something I know about the Vigor Syndicate, they like to swarm. So what we're going to do is we're going to start laying out lots of laser towers here, and we're going to reverse back closer to the gate. And as they come at us, well, there's going to be lots of laser towers for them to play with. And then, if things get really hairy, you basically duck out through the gate. And run. Depends how many fighters they have. It's still early on enough in the game. They might not have masses of them. Well, this is weird. I was kind of expecting us to get swarmed. Maybe this is just part of the mission that Vigor are, like, kind and wimpy about this whole thing. Now, let's go poke the station and see what happens.
Stop your attack immediately. You will now suffer the consequences.
This is Sector Security. Comms channel open.
Reporting an attack against this station.
Sorry.
Criminal record has been updated.
I am so sorry. Yeah, I don't really mean it. I know it sounds like I don't mean it, but I really don't mean it. We're just going to keep blasting away at this until hopefully it dies. Unfortunately, our weapons are overheating rather quickly. I should have maybe put some mods on those. Here's some defense drones. So far, ooh, here comes the patrol. Let's back up a little bit. Let's get back into our screen of protective laser towers. And those guys are going to wander right into flak range, which is not going to go well for them. Yeah. Portable laser towers. It's like having a small portable army that you can bring around with you. Makes you absolutely devastating to fighters. I feel like it's a little broken, but I'm not going to complain. Oh. Okay, that's a lot more fighters. I don't know if they're they don't seem to be heading our way, though. They might be okay. Oh, melted. Let's see. Wish I had a better overview of the map. You guys don't seem to be moving in yet. Right. In that case.
Ice refiner.
I think we just destroyed one module. Yeah. Let's just move on to the next, shall we? Ow. I am just incredibly nervous. While I'm chewing away this, all of this fleet is just out here doing nothing. That doesn't seem right. I mean, I don't want them to attack, but at the same time, it feels like they should be attacking. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think they've...
You're just asking for it.
I think they've got irritable. But that's okay. We have brought along the power of laser turrets. And through the power of friendship and laser turrets. Holy Christ. Yeah, I don't think you're doing much. In fact, let's get a better view. There we go. Yeah, that's just death. Like, I can't imagine being a fighter and wanting to go, hey, let's... Whoa! Our shields! Our shields are down here. That's too much shield loss. Reverse! Let's do a strategic withdrawal.
You're done.
You're really asking for it now. Stop your attack immediately. You will now suffer the consequences.
What are you talking about? You've already
This
said,
is
dear
sector
God.
security. Comms channel open.
Reporting an attack against this station.
There's too many of them.
Confirmed. Criminal record has been updated.
Lee! Run away! Also, we're going to pick up all of the items that are dying from all the fighters. My God. Oh. Yeah, now where's the gate? I'm reversing as fast as I can. Maybe I should turn around. Yeah, but then I can't watch the explosions. Damn it! That the gate? Yeah, that's the gate right there.
That's just not good enough.
Actually, I think we're fine for now. Like, I was worried there for a minute, but I think we've got rid of most of them.
Might as well just eject.
No, I think we're good right now. Your guys are probably not doing so good, though. Oh my... Yeah, you're just melting. Like, if you're in a fighter and you're facing so many laser turrets, you're basically just a snowman. In, like, a warm sun.
You've made a serious mistake.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough of you. And I think we got... Oh my God.
I can't take anymore.
I can watch this go on for a while. Like, you're all just slaughtered and our shields are still at halfway. Yeah, laser turrets, they might be just a little bit OP. Alright, I'm gonna wait until our shields have fully regenerated, and then we're gonna pop back in there and finish off that station.
You'll have to do better than that.
Come on! How many fighters do they have? This might take a while.
The Vigor Syndicate recognizes
Oh
that
my
you
God.
mean business. The
Right.
new management feels that it is not worth pursuing this matter any further.
That
Your
sounds about
monetary
right.
contribution has gone a long way as well. Be assured that as far as we are concerned, this conflict is resolved.
Excellent. All it took was we had to spend like 15 million to bribe them and about 15 million on this ship. And about another million or so on laser turrets. Yeah, no. I mean, it's pretty fair. Also, we got a lot, and I mean a lot of salvage. Also, there's a bunch of, well, there was. Let me double check. There was a bunch of fighters around here that went, what do you call it? You know, free. Though I think they got destroyed later in the crossfire, or they just disappear after a while, maybe. Because I know there was at least 3 of them? Oh. I really thought we were going to get a little fleet of fighters after that. Oh, wait, there they are. It's the blue fighters. That's what I'm... Okay. And if we say, come out... Kid. Okay, can we just board that? Claim. No person on board to claim the ship. Okay, I need to transfer people on board first. Well, we actually managed to claim 4 fighters out of that. 4 Luxes. Great, I think they're pretty terrible ships. But that's actually... There's the 5th one over there. Well then, we can get those repaired up. And they can be our little fighter swarm. Not that they'd be any good, but... I mean, every little bit helps. Then we just have to grab back up all of the satellites we dropped down, so... Slurpity, slurpity, slurp, slurp. Oh! There's a salvage crew out here already salvaging this and making scrap cubes. That's kind of cool. Which is actually the next thing we're about to get into. We have returned to lovely Tidebreak here in Avarice. That place with the solar tide that annihilates everything every so often. And what we're going to do is we're going to build ourselves a factory just here on the edge, because right in this sector, there's scrap. A really decent amount of scrap. This scrap we're going to harvest. We're going to transport it through 1 gate, 2 gates, and bring it into Avarice, where we're going to process it. It's going to be very energy intensive. Now, we could do this in other places that have weaker sunlight, but I want to do it here to take advantage of all the game mechanics that it's involved. Is it a smart plan? Not for massive scaling. We'll use this as sort of a seed for building lots of other stuff. And really because I just want to try it. Alright, in here we're going to have to put down a new plot. Oh, too expensive. Way too expensive. What? Why is that? Okay, so 64 grand is the cheapest we can get it for. Okay then. Nope, no, not there. We'll say right about there. And then we'll rotate it so you're facing the gate. Perfect. Then we can buy the license, continue. Now, give me a second while I lay this out. Actually, I should really cover this thing. Alright, first we put in a dock, then we put in a little quad attacher. It's got 4 attachments all around it and 2 top and bottom, so it's actually got 6. This here, though, is the protectorate shield. This is basically a blueprint I just stole from some people. And if we swing around like this, we should be able to dock it in there. Perfect. So this is what keeps our base from getting destroyed when the tide hits. So this is why it's going to be the third thing built. Dock, cross-connect, and then the protectorate shield. Then what we're going to do is start attaching on the rest of the bits. Oh, you don't have to have all these things touching, by the way. You can put them higgledy-piggledy wherever you like. It's just, I like to keep things touching so it feels real and less disjointed. I mean, you could have them all spread out all over the place with no connections, but that just looks disconcerting. This is most of it. We actually have to put on 4 recyclers on top of this, but at 5 million and change, we're only going to need 3 solar panels. That's because we've got 1,300% solar power in this area, which means otherwise we need like 36 solar panels or 34 or something along those lines. So this is why we're here. It's a little bit cheaper and a little bit faster to build. You know, we don't have to mass produce all the solar panels, but we're going to let this build and jump back in a bit. So that right there is a shipwreck getting dumped into a recycler. That's actually pretty cool. Nice. Okay, before we get further into recycling, I want to explain why this is so exciting to do, because it seems kind of dull, but at the same time, I really like this idea. Normally what you do is, this is the production chain. As you can see, it looks like a lot of lines on stuff, but the important bit here is on the left is all of the simple basic resources, and on the right is all the complicated stuff. And normally, what you want to do is you want to be able to make station modules and produce all the materials to make those station modules yourself. That way, you can just expand your factory forever because you're producing the modules. You don't have to buy anything in. It's basically free factory expansion at that point. So this is station modules and it has 2 inputs. One of the inputs is hull parts over here. Now, hull parts is actually quite simple. All it requires is refined materials. Now, this palladium you can ignore. That's an alternative recipe. We're not using that one, or we're not actually using either of these. But anyway, normally you go with refined metals, which is made from ore. So you get an ore miner that'd mine ore, you bring it back to a metals refinery. The metals refinery would then hand that refined metal off to the hull parts factory. And the hull parts factory also requires graphene. Graphene requires methane. So you'd need like a gas miner, which would go to the graphene refinery, which would then send that graphene onto the hull parts factory. You need 2 miners, and then 2 separate buildings, and then a third building, which is the hull parts. And then that gives you 1/2 of the thing necessary to make station modules, to build more station, which you would then use to build more hull parts and refined metals and graphene, etc. However, you also need electronics. Electronics requires antimatter cells, which requires hydrogen. So again, another gas miner and antimatter cells, and yeah. But you also need quantum tubes. Quantum tubes require graphene and supercoolant. So, you're going to need the helium to go into the superfluid coolant to go into the quantum tubes. You've already got the graphene and the methane because, well, you needed that for the hull parts. But that's still another miner and another building and then the quantum tubes. But then you also need microchips and silicon wafers and silicon, which is another miner and another building. And you also need the microchips. And then with all of those 3 combined, you can make electronics. And combining the electronics and the hull parts, you can now finally make station modules. And as you can see, it's a kind of complicated mess. This here is the logical overview for our scrap processing station. It's very simple. Raw ships or scrap that we mine is dumped into here. Then that raw scrap is turned into scrap metal. This takes an enormous amount of energy. That's the big downside of using scrap, but whatever. Then, using that enormous amount of energy and that raw scrap, we make the scrap metal, and then the scrap metal is processed in the recycling plant, and it spits out hull parts and electronics on the other end. And that's it. That's the entire production train. Scrap gets turned into scrap metal gets turned into hull parts and electronics. Done. Not only that, it takes 1 scrap processor. See this little building here? That building there is the one where all the scrap is dumped off in. That scrap processor can support 4 scrap recyclers, which means you get, well, a lot of production out of this. In fact, actually, let me just check the numbers. This is the x4game.com calculator, and I think it's having a little bit of problem with scrap calculations, but it's fine. Pretty sure our numbers here are accurate enough. This produces about 2,400 hull parts an hour and about 720. Well, actually, I think it's 740 electronics. But you know what? I'm not going to argue it. This whole thing, it's a weird process because it actually switches back and forth. It does hull parts for one processing cycle, then it does electronics for the second cycle, and then switches back to hull parts. It kind of flim-flams back and forth unless your storage is full. But yeah, let's just say this is what you're producing. Now, if you wanted to make that the old-fashioned way, you'd need something like this to make about the equivalent amount of electronics and hull parts. Not quite, the numbers are a little bit squishy, let's say. But the bonus here with this method is that we just take the electronics and hull parts that it produces, and we put that back into the system to make more scrap processing, more scrap recyclers, and keep going. Now, you can do that here. You can take this system, it's a little bit more complicated, and you can take all those buildings and all those miners and all that stuff, and you can expand out. I've done that. Very, very doable. However, if you want to keep expanding the regular design out, what you really should do is split it into a bunch of different factories, because there's a build limit, as in, once you start building something on a factory, it has to finish that building before moving on to the next, and there's only so fast you can build each building. Which means you eventually hit this point where the amount of electronics and hull parts you're producing is more than you can actually chuck right back into your factory to build more building. So what you normally end up doing is splitting this into about 5 different factories. Yep, got a tutorial on it, the whole 9 yards. And then you use that to hopefully be able to expand your factory 5 times faster than you would if you just made one giant monolithic one. This one has some slightly different advantages. One, we can pour all the resources back into the scrap, but once we hit the point where we're producing more scrap, more electronics and hull parts than we need to build more factory, we then just build a second factory. There's no complicated chain here. It's just 3 different buildings and a dock stuck together. Energy cell production, scrap processor, scrap recycling, done, you just go. That's just 3 buildings you need. Well, say 4, you're going to need the dock as well, and a few components to stick it all together, but done. And you just make another one. And then once that one starts producing more, you just keep expanding and expanding out. But the real powerful part is because normally when you play this game, Claytronics is a dead-end part. I mean, it's completely dead-end. It's only useful for making station modules. Hull parts is useful for 2 things, station modules and ships. So when you want to start making ships, your Claytronics end up being useless. Because your Claytronics sit there, and without the hull parts to go with them, you can't build more factories. So you'd have to balance it so it hits a certain point, you stop making more Claytronics, and you just start adding on more hull parts, and then you start adding on, well, field coils so you can make shields. You're also going to need stuff for weapons, engines, all these extra things you're going to need to tack onto your factory. Closed loop is a bit different. This is a Commonwealth weapon. It's shared across most of the core races, Paradid, Argon, Taladi, Split. And you'll see here it's got a universal production method, which requires 10 advanced electronics, 10 energy cells, 40 weapon components. So you're going to need a bunch of advanced components and weapon components to make this. Okay, that's problematic. However, if you go under build method and switch from universal to closed loop, it now takes Claytronics, energy cells, and hull parts. So what you're able to do is take those Claytronics that you weren't going to use and instead switch it all over to weapon production. This goes the same for engines, turrets, missiles, like everything that can go into the ships, except for there is one downside, and that is the unique weapon. So, for example, the Argon Ion Blaster, this is a special shield-destroying weapon. Yeah, that doesn't have any bonuses. It's only the basic stuff. And it doesn't apply to capital ships that have large guns. So the primary batteries on Argon ships, unfortunately, cannot be made this way. However, you can fully equip fighters and fighter carriers, all for the closed-loop system. Which leads us back to this flowchart here again. The plan. Build nothing but hull parts and Claytronics using scrap to build more station. And then expand it and build multiple stations. And then, at some point, you flip a switch and you just stick on a ship production module. You have to buy them, they're about 130 million. But once you do, you can then make the ship and all of the parts of it. Well, assuming it's all the Argon tech, and we covered it, well, there'll be some minor restrictions here and there. And you can convert 100% of your output into just ships. So basically, expand production every, it's about 4 to 6 hours. So you can double your production plant every 4 to 6 hours. And then at some point you just flip the switch and you can turn it all into ships and weapons. And I like the thought of that. People using the other production method, they can't do that. They can't flip 100% of their production over to ships. They'll still always have these Claytronics just sitting there, not really being that useful. I think there's some parts of them can be used in engines. I'm not sure. You know what? It doesn't matter. All I know is we're going to max out on hull parts and Claytronics and just mass produce as many ships as possible once we get our factory big enough. However, all good things have downsides. And the real downside I'm discovering here is location. And the problem is these scrap things are cool and all that. The problem is the scrap haulers. This here is a tug. The tug brings all of the scrap material back to your scrap factory. Problem is, it has a travel speed of about 1600 meters per second. It's basically 5 engines strapped to a ship. That's it. Even with travel drives, you're not going to get too much, and it's going to take forever to accelerate up. It's just, this is really only good at short distances. And to take advantage of the enormous amount of power available in Avarice, well, the closest scrap field we have is this one over here, Windfall Aurora's Dream, which is 2 gates away. And I mean, it seems close, but it's just not close enough. If we check here, on the logical overview, you can see we have 5,000 scrap heading back here right now. Problem is, it just can't keep up with the consumption. And each one of those haulers costs $1 million to buy. And we can't afford to, like, it just, the cost is ridiculous. Like, we're going to need to build about another, I'd say 15, maybe 25 manticores to keep up with the production of this factory. So, what I should have done, in retrospect, was maybe make the scrap processor over here. Well, the recycler that you dump everything into, or the whatever. The basic things where you throw in the cubes. Grab those cubes of scrap or the dead ships, throw them into the on-site here. So there'll be a nice short travel distance for everyone. And then you can export that scrap and have that scrap maybe processed in Avarice. Though in all fairness, what's these sunlight levels in here? Considering the sunlight levels are 11% in here, that probably wouldn't have worked. So the big limiting factor here right now is manticores. But we have a plan. Over here is Heretic's End. This place has raw scrap, and it looks like it hasn't got a lot, but supposedly it regenerates very, very quickly. So we should be able to run about 40 scrap modules, as in 1 processor and 4 recyclers. We could run 40 instances of that here, which is nuts, considering the scrap field is basically this size. And the sunlight is 181%, which cuts down on our problems with power generation.
Fellow denizens and
Oh.
voyagers, we sincerely hope that you found your way into safety.
We should dock right now. Sorry, 1 second. This here is the second problem with our scrap setup. Every 45 minutes, you get a warning about the tide. 15 minutes later, tide hits. And the moment the warning is given, ships start queuing up or fleeing. So you'll see this big blob of ships here. I put the satellite here for that reason. Yeah, all of these ships are waiting to go into Avarice. So for the next 15 minutes, no scrap producers are going to be able to get here. But where's my scrap going? Guys, yeah, whoever was carrying those scrap cubes decided to leave in a hurry, and all the scrap is just flying about the place. Well, that's just great. But anyway, yes, so for 15 minutes out of every 45, no scrap deliveries. Not exactly great. Also, if a manticore messes up and ends up in system when the tide hits, it will end up dead. So, yeah, it's probably better they stay outside. So I suppose, long story short, this build is done here. I am not adding on anything else to this because I think we're going to need about 20 manticores to make this run right. That's going to cost a lot of resources, but that's fine. We'll get that up and running, and then what we're going to do is we are going to take all of the hull parts and claytronics from that, and we're going to export it over to Heretic's End and build ourselves a proper mega scrap facility. Then, turns out... Now, where's Heretic's End? Oh, sorry, Hatikva's Choice. Over here where we put in this defense platform. Oh, that's one thing. Defense platforms can be made entirely out of those electronics and claytronics and hull parts, which means we can mass produce defense platforms. Good-o. How much resources have you collected? 913 things in your inventory. Wow. I'm really glad we put this defense platform there. Anyway. Over here is... Where is it? Yes. The Xenon. Now, this sector here is also full of scrap. Well, actually, a decent amount of scrap. But over here there's a gate. I can't see it, but this gate leads over to this sector. And this sector over here has very high sunlight. I think it's 316%. Actually, wait. This sector that's on... Well, it's Matrix 001. This is 408% sunlight. So what we want to do is move in there and set up a scrap factory there as well. There's no factories in there that I'm aware of, but what we will have to do is get a bunch of cargo vessels through here to bring all the electronics to build a defense platform on the other side. Then we can hold it off. And then we'll probably place a defense platform over here. And we're basically going to cut off the Xenon in the sector and wipe them out. And then mine this entire area for lots and lots of scrap. It'll be delicious. Should be, like, it just gives you a plan of where you want to go with your scrap empire. Because Avarice is fine. Heretic's End is better. But gaining access to the Xenon sectors is just that much juicier and contains so much more scrap. It's going to be, well, that's the plan. The Split are just so criminally inclined. It's ridiculous. Okay, This is open a black market, basically access to unsanctioned trade offers. This is how you open a black market on a new location. All we have to do is deliver 3 decryption modules,
I knew I could count on
and they'll pay us. Those are things you pick up from, well, that fall around the place. You know, when you blow up Xenon and things like that. One of those guys we have farming outside of our, where the Xenon are running into our defense platform. Pop into the location, drop off the supplies, and
Can I help?
boom, we have now opened up another black market. Oh, decryption modules are about 10 grand a pop, and you can actually buy them at a lot of black markets. So opening up some of these, quite easy. But going back up to the top, we can look at the trade, and we will see that, well, everything is worth 175% more than normal, plus it's got a bonus on top of it. This agricultural aids thing is... Oh, 1 second. This is the Steam X4 In-Depth FAQ. This section here deals with data leak bonuses. Basically, when you scan those little data leaks on stations, you can potentially get all of these particular bonuses. These are all the non-EMP variants. So if we search for agricultural aids, you'll see this is a commission, meaning they will pay a premium, and it's between 2 to 6%, and it lasts between 24 to 48 hours. Cooldown min-max 24 to 36 hours. So it's just basically a bonus. These are actually kind of useful. At first you'd think, whatever, it's only a little bit of extra, it's only like 6% or so like that, but not quite. You see, best I can tell, it's stacked. So we have a high demand because this is a defense platform. Defense platforms have no supply. Therefore, the demand is maximized, meaning it's always at 174 to 175% for all the products. Actually, let's pause this for a second. Yeah, 174 to 175%. Plus, if you combine the agricultural bonus on top of that, that's an extra plus 7%. But it's not working out how you'd think. There should be 181%, but it's not actually additional. It seems to be multiplicative, which is why you end up at plus 191%. I think I've ended up pretty close to almost 200% bonuses on some places. It's actually quite nice. What? Reason we're doing all of this? Money. Basically, we want to build out Avarice, finish it off, get it about 20 manticores. That costs cold hard cash. And we just want to use crime to achieve that. Crime's pretty handy to achieve that when you can say get... Actually, let's go to this freighter. Oh, you're done. Wait a minute. How about you? Are you done yet? No. Damn it. Ah, here we are. This one over here is on a defense platform. That defense platform has a little stealth symbol over it, or a black market symbol over it. And this person is chain selling space weed to this place constantly and making an absolute fortune doing it. That is the whole power of this. We can actually see how much the space weed is costing because currently there's an operation going on. But as you can see, this place also has an agricultural aids thing and getting a plus 2% bonus. Only got 100 and plus 181, so this is one of the lower earners. But considering how much you earn, it really doesn't make a difference. Let's do a quick example here. We'll check on trade. We're looking for space fuel, space weed, and magidust. Usually I just go with space weed right now because there's a massive stockpile down in Powered in Space. This thing is absolutely loaded to the gills. At one point, I actually got a Shayaku Vanguard and filled it up a few times, and then it got killed by the Xenon. That was very frustrating. So we can grab either space fuel, or we can grab space weed, or we can grab a bit of both. But let's just do space fuel this time around. Grand. Oh, actually, no. Profits from that sale were terrible. Let's get the space weed instead. That cost us 445,000. That's a lot. But then what we do is we'll just follow back up to here. We're going to have this ship come right back to this split defense platform, trade with it again, and then they're going to sell it. And one operation of selling 200 yields 98 grand, meaning after about 4 or 5 operations, the rest, actually not 4 or 5 operations. Yeah, about 4 or 5 operations, the rest will all be profit. There's a lot more than that. Like, you'll see the profits here is 70,000 per operation of selling 200. This will max out really quick. Oh, well, this one's got a good production bonus, so plus 196%. Yep. This is completely broken. It is totally broken, and I love it. And not only that, the split over here, they love, and I mean they love their black markets. If we check here, 1 black market, 2 black markets, 3 black markets, 4 black markets, 5 black markets, 6 black markets, and I'm going over here to try 7 and 8. And this was not hard to get up. It's over a 50-50 chance every time I go to a split platform and check out the thing looking for data leaks, I will find one offering a black market. Do not, under any circumstances, look for black markets around normal buildings. The prices are just terrible. I mean, look at that space fuel bonus. 109%? I mean, seriously, it's not even worth getting out of bed for that much. This means we just rake in the money, and then all you do is go around and hit up all the split defense platforms. I have tried hitting up the Teladi ones. They don't like black markets. The Argon, again, don't like black markets. Paranid might be a little bit more into it. I'll have to see. But they're also a little bit more militant about stopping us. Oh, that pilot's out. You know what? So, yeah, this is the only place that actually shot down one of the ships. It discovered it had drugs on it, told them to dump it. I did, and then I tried to pick them back up again, and they didn't like that, so they shot the ship down. Well, you live and you learn. Don't do that. So we've only lost one ship so far, and ships cost half a million, so say 6 space weed operations. So that's, yeah, like it's half a ship. It's half a cargo ship of weed to make another ship. So all you got to do is just open up more black markets and sell more money, which we're going to do. And then we're going to take all of that to max out on the amount of manticores it takes to keep this the Avarice plant up and running. I figure about 20 manticores, see how that works out. If that doesn't, we'll up it to 30. Once we've maxed out that, then we move over to Heretic's End. Yeah, I might be a while at this. Like, you know what? I'm going to cut this out here. I know I should be kind of getting more done. It's just there's a lot that goes on in the background that you don't really cover. This game is weird. It's like comfort food in that there's always something to do, but nothing too crazy. It's always like, oh, just do a little bit of that, this, do a little bit of that. Oh, are the split breaking into this sector? Then maybe I'll send over my Odysseus and we'll go kill some of them and we'll make a defense platform. Just little things like that to like keep the game stable. Because also you want to do all the missions and we you know what? I'm going to cut this out here. Next up, massive scrap factory in Heretic's End, and we'll see just how big we can make it. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Good luck.